Hey there, you found us. I'm BJ Krintzman, and this is You're Doing Good. We come to you all the time and we feature a nonprofit, usually, or a business, or an individual, someone who is doing good in the community and doing good for the community. Tonight's a little bit of a departure because we have a for profit business with us. And typically we have a nonprofit business, but they're doing such good that I wanted to have them on. And it's also a little different because we're not in the studio. We're coming to you through Zoom. So we are not revisiting the pandemic, thank goodness. But there were some logistical issues. So this was the best way to do it for tonight's show. And I was very anxious to have this show. So even though we're on YouTube and you can be seeing us from anywhere in the country, I'm actually in Newton. And Justin Sandler, who is my guest tonight, is coming to us from Gloucester, right, Justin?
That's right.
Okay, welcome to the show, Justin. And tonight the topic is Black Earth Compost. Newton viewers know Black Earth Compost because they are the composting company that has uh, the right, I guess, to pick up composting in Newton. And the composting, and for those of you who are not into composting at all, your green trash bin and your blue trash bin. Well, if they got together and had a little baby, that's the little bin that's sitting next to it on trash day. So those are for people who are composting. Anyway, first I want to welcome our guest. Justin, welcome to the show. Justin Sandler, tell us who you are in terms of Black Earth.
Thanks so much for having me. I wish I could make it down to your studio. That looks like a nice program you have there. Um, yep, Justin Sandler. I'm one of the partners over here at Black Earth. I've been with it 15 years ago now. We started out, and I joined it when it was about 6 months old. So 2011 we started, just a couple residents and a bagel shop here in Gloucester, and a rusty old pickup truck, and we've grown quite a bit since then.
That is fantastic. The difference an individual can make. I'm thrilled that you're here, Justin. The founder who was beat you by a couple of months, what his name? Tell Newton.
Yeah, the friend and founder, Connor Miller. He was living on the West Coast for a bit, where composting is a bit more commonplace. So then he moved back here, read about how all our landfills were closing and our trash crisis, and decided to get a truck. And I met him one night out here in town and hopped in the truck the next day, really.
You didn't know him before that?
I knew him before he moved out west. We were actually lifeguards here at
Oh,
Good Harbor Beach, and I guess it all starts on the beach here in Gloucester. Then he moved away and then moved back, and it was just kind of kindred that we lined up again.
how nice. Sounds wonderful. All right, so we're going to hear. So first of all, before we hear about Black Earth composting, tell us about composting itself. What is composting? What is the process of composting? So explain to us what that's like.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to see than describe and hear, but it's just the breakdown of our organic material with the use of oxygen. So it's an aerobic process. We mix food scrap with carbon-based materials like leaves and wood shavings. All we do is add oxygen and we mix it and balance it. And the whole process takes about 6 months to turn an apple core into, we make a pretty high grade compost available for sale for farmers, backyard growers. All plants love it. And it's the best way to rebuild our soil.
Fantastic. So just to step by step, what you do is you take my garbage scraps, okay,
Yeah.
and you take that and then you dump it in a landfill, or is it done in a big building or in a landfill, and you mix it with the oxygen? Tell us how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, really, it starts with you when you're
Yes.
prepping your material, just to be aware of what is and isn't compostable. So, the material we're talking about is all food scraps, and that we have a full list on our website of that. It's pretty extensive, as you can imagine. That's includes shells and meat and coffee filters, coffee grinds. So it's the customer or the household in this case is separating it You put it in the bin curbside. It's the little green 13-gallon bins.
Right.
We have 40,000 of those in total that are deployed, and we pick those up weekly. It goes in our truck, and then it goes to the most proximate compost site. In which case, for Newton, it's up to our site in Manchester by the Sea. And once it hits we call it the tip floor. So we tip it in our trucks inside of a building. That's where the batch is established. It has aerated floors, and it's a very controlled environment. And then the whole process takes about 6 months. There's mixing along the way, and then we have ways to extract some of the contamination that gets in there. So the plastics and the metal and things like that we have to remove. So it's a pretty laborious task, especially when you're talking about 20,000 tons per year. But we get it done, and we've been proving it for quite some time now.
Right. I was going to ask you what happens if something is in there that shouldn't be in there. So, for
Yeah,
instance, like I'm aware that before you put an orange peel in there, you should take off the little sticker. That's not, technically compostable. Chicken bones are okay. Uh, I put in, paper towels, as long as they only have food on them, they don't have human waste on them. Is that right?
that's right. You're already an expert here. So, and I'm glad you bring up the fruit sticker problem. Um, I can't believe we put sticky trash on all of our compostable material, but that might soon change. Those stickers might soon become compostable, or will soon become compostable. Yeah,
Wait. Become compostable because of the process you use, or because they'll be made out of different materials that are compostable when the fruit supplier puts them on.
yeah. We went to the laboratory where out in California, where they're actually making the glue is the hard part in that, making a compostable resin that allows the sticker to stick, but is also compostable because paper is already compostable. So that will soon be like a national global mandate, ideally. It'll make the process for us a lot easier. Reducing
Yeah.
contamination coming in is the
Huh.
key. So your knowledge of like taking a fruit sticker off is pretty important because it's really it's not very technical, but like the main way we get it out is by hand. There's hand extraction, there's some vacuuming involved, and then the final move is the trommel screen. But the problem with the fruit sticker is it's smaller than the screen size. So it,
Yeah.
it can possibly pass through into the final
Yes.
product.
Wow. All right. And tell us this is so fascinating. What is the importance, the benefit of composting? What does composting do for us?
Yeah, it's
America, listen up.
man, it's so many wins across the board. It's an obvious environmental win because we're creating less trash, and therefore, if this isn't going to a landfill, there's less greenhouse gases being emitted from our landfills. Especially here in Massachusetts, all our landfills are going to be closing within, I believe it's as short as like 7 or 8 years. So
What,
where our
the
trash
landfills in Massachusetts are closing?
Yeah, we got to be screaming this from the windows, to be honest. The landfills are closing. We're trying to get the word out as much as we can. The state is helping as well. We're running out of capacity. We don't want any more landfills created. Real estate values are too high. We don't want them in our backyard. So what we currently do with trash is we set it on fire, we incinerate it, but you're still left with a lot of ash left over. And currently, it's so bad that we have to send a lot of it, like hundreds of thousands of tons, go down to Alabama, Ohio, states that are really far away. And how do you get it there? You have to burn a lot of fuel to transport it. So, composting is a way to keep this material within our state, process it locally, and have something we can rebuild our local soils with.
So what you end up with after the composting process is a nutrient-rich soil, is that right?
Yeah, it's a soil amendment. So the soil is your sand, silt, and clay, and the compost is like the life force for it. It's the nutrient base. It's the beneficial bacteria. We think of composting as giving a deposit back into the soil where we've been withdrawing for so long.
And what communities you have? I saw on your website you have, and we could run the website. We'll stream that if we can. What for sites do you have composting facilities in?
Right. That's a good question. We have to take it somewhere. So we're both a hauler. We're kind of two businesses in one. We have the trucking for the pickups, and then we have to dump that material. Currently, we have 4 compost sites. It could be 6 within a year. So that we're talking about Manchester by the Sea, which is where your material comes back to. And anybody's welcome to reach out for a tour. We love having people up there. But Manchester, Framingham, Groton, and Wareham. And then there's soon to be one coming up online in Connecticut. So our trucks we're driving across, from Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts and a little bit of New Hampshire. And then the trucks drive back to the most local compost site.
Right. So, and you are what's called vertically integrated,
Exactly.
which means explain that to us, what that means.
It's two very complementary businesses in under one umbrella, and they both, they depend on each other. The sites depend on the trucking to dump, and the trucking depends, and vice versa is also true. And us having our own compost sites allows us to control and monitor the material that comes in. So we have, and that's part of the reason why we can make such a high grade compost.
So you pick up the garbage, turn it into soil, and then you sell the soil.
Yeah, it's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's not,
I make
you
it
know,
sound easy.
well, the beauty of the business is it's like simplicity, and we don't have to have it's not like a high tech super software involved process. All we do is we make the conditions that allows Mother Nature to do the bulk of the work for us.
Yeah, fabulous. With all of your expertise. And how many communities is Black Earth currently servicing?
It's hundreds. So I guess geographically in Massachusetts, we're talking about basically Worcester East, and that's all the way up to the tip of the Cape in Provincetown, where we have a lot of work going on, picking up schools and residents in Rhode Island, and we're just getting into Eastern Connecticut right now too, as well as parts of Southern New Hampshire.
And are you picking up from restaurants as well?
Yeah, we have a number of restaurants in Newton that have been with us for a while, but restaurants, colleges, offices. It's like if we were trying to think of a way to describe who is capable of composting. It's like if you eat food, you can be composting.
If you breathe, if you breathe.
Then you drink water, right?
All right, sounds good. So, and I'm going to share a story with you. I was talking to a friend this afternoon who lives in New Bedford, and I was telling her I was going to do my show tonight. And I said, actually, I'm having Black Earth Compost on. And she said, Black Earth. She said they just sent me a letter. She's in New Bedford, looking to see if they can get a grassroots effort going there to try to pick up in New Bedford. And she said that the letter said you needed 30 households to get it started or something. Was that current, or are you further along than that?
That sounds about right. I think if anybody plugs in their address onto our website, they can see the latest update right there. But that's what you said, that grassroots kind of effort is really how a number of our communities have started with local gardening groups or the Mothers Out Front, different organizations really like composting and man, did they hit that's some pretty good boots on the ground right there, knocking on doors, doing farmers markets and spreading the word.
And my friend is Camilla Brooks, by the way, and she told me that she has already forwarded the email or the letter, whatever it was, it reached out to several of her friends and told me you can call her if you want, and she would help organize, try to do some more grassroots stuff in New Bedford. So I think when people hear about it, it's such a good idea. It's such a good idea if you understand it, which is actually what I wanted to ask you about, which is what prevents communities from going forward with composting?
Great
Is it a
question.
misunderstanding, a lack of knowledge?
Yeah, I would say it's really impressive what like the tailwinds that we currently do have. So perhaps it's like they don't know there is a service that does it in the first place. Perhaps it's just a lack of awareness. Um, but from there, I don't think people are aware of like the trash crisis. I don't think people know where our trash goes. And really, that's what I say to everybody is like, would you rather have your trash go to Alabama or to Manchester by the Sea and make compost? Once they start hearing the narrative, it's tough to say no. Um, there is a cost for the program, so there could be some issue there. But there's a number of ways like towns can have free bins for the community to come drop off. I know in Newton they have a number of those, or the residential pickup it's under $4 per week. And then there's misperceptions of composting. It's going to be too stinky. It's going to be too difficult. It's another thing. But really, you do it once or you show one person, and you just have to see it really to believe it.
Yes, I know. I'm afraid that my dog is going to start barking, but we'll hope things hold for another minute or two. Um, but I think I wanted to take it a step further than you did, which was, do people want their trash to go to Alabama? I don't think people care if their trash goes to Alabama. They want their trash to go. They
Sure,
just want to get rid of it. And
disappear.
I think China has stopped taking America's trash. Or remember, there was a barge in New York Harbor for floating around for months because
Yes.
no place would take their trash. So I think it's a more critical situation than that, which is we're running out of even places that we think will take the trash.
Yes, and that is again very much the case in Massachusetts. It's the most expensive trash in the entire country, which you don't want to be number one at that. And that's because we don't have the space, the capacity for it. So
I
everybody
mean,
like
because we're densely populated, is that why we don't have sites to put it in? There are a lot of us. I don't know.
densely populated, it's tough or impossible to permit new ones. It's not some it's just not something we want in our backyards. There's environmental considerations for siting a new landfill. But what we can all rally around is saving money. So if trash is $120 a ton and composting is a way to take it out at a cheaper rate, and compost it accounts for 40% of the total trash pie. So if we can cut out almost half of it and it's super expensive to throw it out, like we can do it locally. We can hire local people, we can support our local farms, we can have healthier food, all while making money.
So, how many tons of trash does Black Earth pick up annually?
Hopefully we don't get we the trash stream, I guess, is like what does a household get rid of in their total waste stream, and it's like recycling, there's electronics, there's textiles, and we do pick up textiles and electronics now too, but we can save that for either later or a different time. But in total, we're up to 20,000 tons of this material um, every year. And
In Massachusetts?
in Massachusetts, I have the number. I think last year Newton was 1,000 total tons, came 1,000 of, so about 5% of our total volume comes from Newton alone. And again, you're only at 10% of the population, so there's a lot of room to grow, but we should be proud of the amount that we're currently separating away from these landfills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking tons and tons here. So it's fabulous.
It's a massive amount.
And it's pretty easy to tell when you go around on trash pickup day, you just see, are there a lot of compost bins out or not? And does it, by the way, is there a socioeconomic um, factor in this? Do wealthier neighborhoods, let me ask that, more educated neighborhoods, are you going to see more composting bins out on trash day?
It's a fair question to ask, like what is the demographic that's most likely to be composting? Certainly, we do find that the wealthier towns, especially the suburbs around Boston, do compost more. And perhaps, but we also, from those towns, it just happens that the leaders, the DPW officials in those towns, Newton's a great example, Lexington, Watertown, Brookline, like there's some tenacious people working for these towns that really, really get it. So props to those towns and the efforts they do to get the word out, to go scrape for grants. Um, there's federal funding, there's state funding, and we just have to have savvy folks in charge that are tenacious enough to go and get that funding for it. But just on that point, it's a wide swath of people, across the state, from the center of the state all the way east, and we're in basically every town that there is.
And do you have supermarkets as customers?
Yeah, good question. The mega supermarkets, like the big dogs, they that volume. So we don't use commercial, like the big CDL trash trucks. We're not super well equipped to get a massive account, but we have subsidized. We have kind of like played in the mix with some of the Whole Foods and grocers like that. But there are some smaller grocers that do use their service here in town. We have a great local grocer, the Common Crow. Um, Shoot, I wish I had more examples of that, but perhaps right below that, like mega supermarket, a lot of those places have packaged food too. And we do not have a machine called a depackager, which
Yeah,
is a bit of a contentious piece of machinery. We have a lot of information about the pros and cons of that machine on our website, particularly when it comes to the discussion of microplastics. Because if you're breaking down the packaging, that might get into the stream. So we stay away from that. We just get the unpackaged food.
sure. Right. Yeah. I'm not sure where we are, how much time we have left, but I wanted to ask you about municipalities actually mandating uh, composting. I know that in New York City, for instance, New York City, it is now required that you
Mm,
compost. I'm sure you're aware of that.
right.
So, and any, apartment building, individuals, they have, supposedly you would get fined, if you don't
Yeah.
compost. So, are you guys working on that, on trying to get municipalities to mandate or states to mandate it?
It's an excellent question, and our stance, and it might be slightly counterintuitive, is that we're kind of anti-mandate at this point. We think the reason that Massachusetts has been so successful is they're allowing these programs to grow with giving subsidies to it. So, for example, we have in Newton, we have 10% of the population there composting with us. What would happen if we forced the other 90? We think it would be a lower grade feedstock. So the food would get a bit more contaminated, and we would actually may have to take a step back because when you're composting, you really need to be have a lot of oversight of the material you're taking in. And if it's very trashy, it can actually ruin the process. So we'd like
Right.
to see maybe if Newton could get to 20% of the population in 2 years, 30 in 5 years, and then maybe down the road make a full wide mandate once these conversations like we're having now are more widely held.
Right. And what I'm thinking about, Justin, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I'm afraid that composting is could get a reputation as elitist, you know, because it's the educated people, the wealthier people, the more affluent communities that are doing it. And sometimes you get a backlash from, people who are in communities that aren't so fortunate.
Sure, and there are maybe to level that playing field grants that can only be specifically given to towns that have a perhaps a lower socioeconomic bar, and that can definitely kind of level the tides there. But really,
Right.
from what I've seen, there's it's such a wide swath that it's such a universal thing. And if we're saving money, that's kind of everybody's goal. And especially if we're saving money while protecting the environment, it runs across every demographic.
You said that about 10% of Newton composts. What's the nationally? Do you know how much of the country composts?
Oh, I would say it's well under 10%. I know in some states there's probably zero composting happening. It really follows how expensive trash is. So the more expensive it is to throw things in the trash, the more likely people are going to be composting. So we would like, if there were higher tipping fees in some of these other states, and that's coming. I think people would be more likely to separate their waste because they can save money.
Well,
So
and also municipal leaders would get behind it because it's costing their municipality what you call tipping fee. I assume that means when a trash truck tips, that's
exactly.
to get rid of your trash. Yeah. So
But
that
there,
would get the community leaders in back of it also. There'd be an economic incentive.
yeah, we just went out to in Sacramento. There's the meeting, the United States Compost Council, which is this like national body that provides a lot of oversight for composting. And we met a lot of companies from different states and hear their growing pains or great success stories. There's Compost Now down in like the Atlanta area, Juneau Compost up in Alaska. I can't imagine running a compost pile in the middle of an Alaskan winter, but for whatever reason, it was like 2013-ish, 2011, like right when we started, there was just like companies like ours popping up all over the country.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of cool events like that we go to hang out with other composters from across the country and share some battle stories.
It sounds like fun. And speaking of fun, I saw on the website that you also do pumpkin smashing parties, or you can be hired to come to pumpkin smashing parties. Sounds so
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Thank you. That was kind of just a moonshot. The first one was in Salem, Massachusetts, and I remember we had like a basketball hoop that we pulled out of the metal recycling dumpster at our site, and we're like, hey, what if we pitch kids throw their pumpkins into this basketball hoop that we bolted to our truck? And I remember I drove it down to near the Salem Willows, and man, it was a great turnout. There was like Coffee Time Bakery, which is a great coffee shop there, was pouring coffee and cider, and kids were chucking pumpkins in, and also learning about like, hey, we shouldn't throw pumpkins in the trash. Um,
Right.
so that's a great way to spread the word,
Right.
and that's been
And,
super
and,
popular.
and also you're getting into the schools helps with the next generation coming along to understand the importance of composting. So that's fabulous. This
Yeah.
has been so great to have you on the show. I wish you all the best. Justin Sandler, you're doing good. Black Earth Compost, you're doing good. And I think you have made a nice offer, which is if people will run your website at some point, on this show. And if people want to get in touch with you, you said you're happy to do a tour of the facilities or to talk to them about how they can get their community involved. Is that right?
That would be great. Yeah, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, it would be terrific. Well, I'm doing it the way I can, which is to try to get the word out. This will be on, and not just Newton, but it'll be on YouTube as well. So thank you so much for being with us. This was just fabulous. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you next time on You're Doing Good. Good night.